Okay, so thinking over this bread thing, it occurs to me I'm going to have to do a couple of posts. I do have a video camera, but I don't know how to use it. Well, I know how to use it, but I don't know how to get the videos from the camera to the computer and then the computer to YouTube. So I'm stuck with my laptop camera, which is going to make it difficult when it comes down to the actual making of the bread. So I thought I'd start out by telling you what you're going to need and how the process is going to go, and then I'll do another video hopefully showing the actual process. Now also, because I can't stop and start, I thought I'd show you the finished product now since I just baked a loaf, and it is, let's see if I can show it. Well, I can't tell how well you can see that, but you see it has a nice crispy crust. And I shaped mine in sort of a U because it was too big for my pan. So no big deal. A nice little dipping sauce with it, and I'll tell you how to make that too. Yum. Anyway, forgive me for eating on camera. What you're going to need is very simple. You need, for each loaf you want to make, and you can make dough for 2 or 3 at a time if you like, but for each loaf you will need 1 cup of warm water, a spoon, and I just use a regular, teaspoon out of the drawer, a spoon of sugar, a spoon of salt, more if you're a salt lover. Do not skimp on the salt. It will not taste good. And a spoon of yeast, or a packet if you're using packets. You put the sugar and the salt into the warm water, give it a stir, put your spoon of yeast, just float it on top, and you want to let it sit for a couple minutes just until you see it start to bubble. And that proves that your yeast is good and working. You will then take, and I don't measure my flour at all, you scoop some flour into the bottom of your mixing bowl. I use a KitchenAid Mixmaster. It is a lot easier than trying to do it by hand. I would not be able to do all the kneading myself. I would have to call in the troops to help me with that one. Anyway, you scoop some flour, a couple scoops, let's say at least a cup or 2, into the bottom of your mixing bowl using your dough hook. You then pour your yeast and water mixture into that and start mixing slowly so that you don't put the flour all over the place. And then you just keep adding, say, a half a cup of flour at a time. The more beating, the better. That just helps develop the gluten, and it's like kneading it. So don't worry about over beating this stuff at all. You can beat it till the cows come home. So then you just keep adding scoops of flour until the dough literally pulls away from the sides of the bowl. When it does that, you know you're done. You're going to run some oil along the outside of the bowl, loosen your dough, flip it over, of course after you took the hook out, and leave it to set until it doubles in size, which is maybe an hour to 2 hours. It's going to depend how warm the location is and how much yeast and all that. So you let it rise for a couple of hours, and then you punch it down, which means you punch all the air out of it, and then you shape it. Now, I like to do the Italian or French style for this particular dough. You just want it long and thin. And remember, you're going to let it sit again for another hour or 2 until it doubles. Plus, it's going to rise some when it cooks in the oven. So you don't want to make it too big. Make it smaller than you think you should do because it's going to grow. Oh, very important, when you put it on your pan, I like to line mine with parchment paper. It just keeps everything from sticking. Even with the parchment paper, you're going to want to use flour on the bottom or cornmeal or something to keep it from sticking badly. And if it sticks, it's not going to rise properly either. So, after it rises, you preheat your oven to 500 degrees. The only change in that would be if you've made a regular shaped loaf, and I suppose you could use a loaf pan if you want. I've never done that, but I don't see why not. If you're using a regular size loaf, you're going to want your oven temperature a little lower, about 450. But if you're doing an Italian or French style, have your oven screaming hot, like 500. Stick it in the oven for about 15 minutes. You want it to cook until it's nice and brown and it sounds hollow when you tap on it. And then you take it out, let it rest for 10 or 20 minutes, don't cut it right away, and you are in for a treat. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is. Now, there are variations, and if I have time, I'll explain some of those. If you like a softer bread, you can use milk instead of water. You can add oil. You can add eggs. You can add more sugar if you want to make a sweeter dough. You can add dry fruits, herbs. The list goes on and on. It's endless. Now, jumping back to the Italian type for another minute to get you all really confused. It really is easy, trust me. If you make extra dough and you put it in the fridge, just find a bowl, put it in the fridge, let it sit really as long as you want. Now what I do is when I make another batch of dough, I mix it with my batch in the fridge, and it becomes almost like a sourdough. There's a couple benefits. Oh, there's the phone. There's a couple benefits. It improves the texture, and it's just convenient. Anyway, I'll end it here because of the silly phone, and any questions, just ask.